Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Collector Car Stories podcast, here with CollectorCarCanada.ca. Today is the second installment of an epic journey taken by two fellow car hobbyists, a road trip from Ancaster, Ontario, all the way up to the Arctic Circle and the Arctic Ocean at Tuktoyaktuk. So we did cover the first 7 days of their journey in a prior episode. Please take a look back for that one if you haven't seen it. It really does set the stage for this, including kind of what I'll call the climax of their journey when they arrive at the northernmost point they hit on their journey. And then it talks about what they did after. It talks about what they did at the Arctic Ocean, and then what they did immediately after. And it takes them back down to Calgary. We still have another episode, quote, in the can to bring you about just some follow-ups on the story. But as I say, today's includes the climax where they reach their ultimate goal. So I'll just toss it over here to both Adam and George as they tell us about the start of day 7, getting up to the Arctic Ocean at Tuktoyaktuk, and what happened next. If you think you might be a candidate for a story on our CCS podcasts, Collector Car Stories, please drop us a line. There's a contact us page on our website, CollectorCarCanada.ca, and as well we'll flash up the email address that you could use, admin@CollectorCarCanada.ca. So we look forward to hearing from some others who've got a great car to talk about, an epic road trip, maybe something about the hobby or something they've done with cars. And we have a lot of fun with these, so we're looking to hear some more stories to bring to the rest of the audience. For now, though, over to Adam and George. Thank you for watching.
So one of the reasons we chose the car that we did...
You can let it out.
Well, it's a 2007 Audi A8L. And
so Quattro.
Quattro was the one box that we needed to
right.
tick, and air suspension.
Oh, air suspension.
Yeah, that's to be comfortable.
Needed to be comfortable. Sure. And it worked. It worked hard, but it survived.
But you were happy with the choice, having ridden it on the Dempster Highway.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
from like the kind of research we had done about the Dempster and watching videos, people had made it sound like it was something to be scared of. You know, like they go there in their Jeeps and their Land Cruisers, and you have to do this, you have to do that.
Did they talk about what time of year you need to be scared of it?
Not really.
They all just made it out to be this epic odyssey. And,
sure.
I mean, it's far.
And it kind of was.
It's not scary.
But I was expecting the actual surface to be a lot worse than it was. And I think a lot of it had sort of been recently graded, you know, so it was surprisingly smooth.
So you hit washboards?
Few.
Yeah, there were sections where it's like an hour and a half of just washboards.
Really?
Yeah.
My trick on those is you speed up, because then you kind of hover over them rather than get every bump.
But most of it was
I think that's just me rationalizing it going faster. But.
Most of it was quite smooth.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Good, okay.
And you go past all these overlanders who are like sort of chugging along at like 50, and we're doing, you know, 70, maybe 80.
Is there a posted speed limit?
No.
Actually, there is. The speed limit is 90 on the Dempster.
Oh, yeah. But like the recommended speed is 70, and I don't think...
No.
Yeah, I think that recommendation is pretty solid.
Would you think the recommended speed would vary by the car? Like if you're on a Yaris compared to a Land Cruiser?
We weren't speeding, but we were the quickest thing on the Dempster.
Yeah,
because there's all these massive Land Cruisers, people that have come from Germany with their fancy Land Cruisers kitted out, and Mercedes camper trucks, and really overkill. I mean,
but they're in rentals, right? They don't know the cars either.
No, they do. They do. They ship them over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we chatted to...
many Germans. Many Germans.
Who had shipped their vehicle across from like Hamburg to Nova Scotia, and then driven from Nova Scotia all the way up.
Wow. And then to Alaska.
So you
and then
see the European plates too.
Yeah. Even Swiss.
Yeah.
Swiss, yep.
That's part of Europe. I know they don't use the euro.
But yeah, so we got to Inuvik, but by that stage, we weren't really concerned about the time we got there because we were now at that point where we were in the Arctic Circle and
Right.
there was no nighttime.
That's what I was saying. So
Yeah.
still 24-hour daylight in August?
Pretty much. So there's a photo we've got where the sun is hovering just above the horizon.
Yeah,
And
I guess
it's
you're
midnight.
about 6 weeks after solstice, eh? If
About
solstice
that,
was
yeah.
June 21st.
I mean, I took a photo of the sunset, and it was literally midnight.
And then you had to turn around and take the sunrise.
No, then we went to sleep.
Yeah, then went to sleep, and it was So I got a photo of the sunset literally at midnight. So I actually checked my watch.
Was
and
it midnight? Oh,
Yeah,
neat.
it was about 11:45, and the sun hadn't set, and I was like, I wonder if I can get a photo like after midnight. So I sat there waiting. I was like, don't set. And yeah, I got a photo like a couple of minutes after midnight, and you can see the sun on the horizon.
I guess at this point you're in the Pacific time zone? Same as Vancouver?
That's something else we kept
Yeah.
losing track of.
It was-
because we kept going this way.
I think
and
it was
just-
mountain time. Which
Were you going
like,
in and out of time zones, back and forth?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
would be hard to keep track of.
we
I-
probably changed time zones 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you would have been in 4 time zones just on the trip, but you would have been back and forth, it sounds
Yeah.
like, with the
Yeah.
highway. I always find that is not necessarily well marked, even on interstate highways when you change time zones.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not at all.
Yeah.
Suddenly the time on the car clock is different to yours. And
Yeah.
you're like, what's happened?
In which case, yeah, we we have these phones. They make us stupid because you don't have to keep changing the time on your phone. It
Well,
pulls from the
I
signal
mean,
usually.
yeah, and at that point, phones worked when you got to town.
Yeah.
Yeah, most
So
of the time, there was
most of the
signals
time there's
up there.
nothing,
There's a
and if you didn't download a playlist, you listened to the same music
Sure.
for 10 hours. But so we
Adam
got
Adam never sang to you, George?
Only when you were asleep.
when I was asleep.
You were saying earlier about how the car was also an excellent choice for the non-driver being able to get some rest.
Yes.
Yeah, that was another. That was like the third one. Was the fact it was an L, and I don't think that would have made a huge difference. But I actually haven't seen an A8 that's not an L in that 2007 that
Yeah.
D3 shape. So
I don't claim to be an Audi aficionado or expert, but the guys are talking about Audi L. So L is short for long, or stands for long. So it's a longer wheelbase car. I always get a kick out of seeing the rear doors of them because the people in the back seats have tons of legroom.
Yeah.
So they're talking about having some space to stretch out a bit in the car.
yeah,
So, yeah,
you
you
do
we'll
it
take
in
a look
front,
at the car
yeah.
in a
We
few
do it in the
minutes.
front when someone's when Adam's driving. I'll sit there and you just push that seat back all the way down, and
You
it's
use
like
the front
lying.
seat for it.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
lying in business class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It
great.
was-
You
it
like
was great.
stretch your legs straight out. You're laid back.
But no air hostess.
No,
So-
no onboard, no onboard meals, just snacks, unhealthy snacks.
We're talking about getting to the climax without actually getting there. So let's get to the climax.
Okay.
You arrive in Tuktoyaktuk, which is, I'll call it the north coast of Canada. Is it fair to say that? Certainly.
Yeah, the
Arctic
northernmost
Ocean.
reachable point in Canada by road.
Actually, fun fact with my Canadian background being a little longer than yours, when we learned Canadian geography and mottos and all that kind of stuff in elementary school, we talked about from sea to shining sea. But now we hear about from coast to coast to coast,
Yeah.
which is an implicit reminder that our Canadian governments want to claim that Arctic Ocean as ours, not just Pacific and Atlantic. So, so you get up to Tuktoyaktuk, and are you able to drive right to the water?
You can,
Yeah.
although you can't.
And how much?
You're not supposed to.
Yeah, you're not
Okay.
supposed to. We did. We drove right up to the Arctic Ocean sign.
They don't strike me as rule followers. With
We
this
didn't
road
know
trip.
it until afterwards. Okay.
Yeah, we genuinely didn't know. So we weren't actively breaking the rules or deliberately breaking the rules. But yeah, I mean, you can like drive basically right up to the Arctic Ocean. I mean, there are campsites sort of on the side of the road, so you can literally
You
know,
camp
park.
at the Arctic Ocean. It's not inland or something. It's like
Right.
it's
Coastal.
the ocean, and then there's your campsite.
Coastal campsite. Yeah. All right.
It sounds beautiful, but it's not.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
did
it
you
was-
see? I'm sure you saw RVs and camper trailers. Did you see anyone in tents?
We had
Yeah.
tents.
You did have tents, but,
But-
I know
we didn't camp there.
We've already talked about
Yeah.
this. I know you didn't camp up there.
Yeah, so that
So same question. Did you see tents, or was it more rugged?
more
equipment?
more camper vans, SUVs with the boxes on the back.
But what we did see quite a lot of is guys on like the adventure bikes, you know, with everything in the boxes at the back, so they would be camping in tents, and then bike packers on bicycles, who like cycle the entire Dempster Highway on a bicycle.
So over 900 kilometers, I think, right?
We chatted to a guy who had cycled from Edmonton, and we were in Dawson City when we chatted to him. He had cycled from Edmonton up to Tuktoyaktuk and then back.
He's on his way back.
Yeah, and he did the Dempster Highway in, I think he said 8 days or 9 days.
And then he was going to Alaska and then California, all on a bicycle.
And
I've
then,
driven to California.
Not an e-bike, just a bicycle.
And that was when we thought, you know...
He looked pretty fit.
I mean, he must have been. I wouldn't say he looked fit, but I mean, he must have been. Yeah. It's incredible.
But it was at that point that we were like, maybe our journey isn't as epic as we thought.
You feel a little inadequate.
The only thing we had going for us at that point...
We are putting epic in the title of this video, whether you like it or not.
The only thing we had going for us at that point was just how quickly we had got there.
Right.
Because everyone else was like, I don't know how they take 3 months off and they go and do this trip, but everyone was just kind of taking their time. We were, let's go there, let's go back.
Sure, yeah.
But so we got to Tuktoyaktuk, drove up to the Arctic Ocean sign, got some photos, got asked to move the car by just some other tourists actually, so they could get some photos, which we did. And then we looked around for a place to swim because the weather wasn't great. It was cloudy, it was really windy, the sea was choppy. And we were like, it was like all like rocks and stuff, and like, you know, we can't swim there. That little section that looks quite nice, there's no swimming. So drove around, found a decent-ish spot to swim.
Were there other swimmers?
Nope.
No.
It's not what you call a seaside resort. No.
And what was the water like?
It was cold, but obviously, but not as cold as I was expecting.
Not the coldest you've ever swam in?
I think it's the coldest I've ever swam in. But when you think of the Arctic, you think it's freezing, icebergs. So you just have that mental picture of it being freezing, absolutely freezing. But we were able to get in, splash around for a few seconds, and then get out.
You were in and out pretty quickly. So we're sitting, as I mentioned earlier, at Adam's home in his backyard in Ancaster, Ontario. I think the coldest water I've ever swam in is close to here, Lake Ontario, near Toronto. I understand it gets a little warmer now, but I've swam in that. Probably wasn't as cold as you guys were in, and it's 60 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's about 14 on the Celsius scale, I believe.
That's toasty.
I was gonna say that was cold. That was in and out cold for me, and I was super hot that day and sweaty, and it was a 32 degree day. I suspect the air temperature was not 32 degrees. Do you know what the water temperature was?
I'd say closer to 5 to 7 degrees.
5 to 7. Wow. You're hardy.
And it was windy and pretty chilly as well. So
when you got out,
and before, because you got the wind coming off the ocean, and it was miserable. Like, that's the only word. It's miserable.
You ever hear those polar bear swims on New Year's Day? Yeah. Have you ever done one of those?
No. We don't need to, because we've done this now.
I tend to agree with you, but I see people doing those on the news on January 1st, and I think I might have a heart attack if I shocked my body that much. I don't think I want to do that. So you get your dip, and the guys already gave me a bit of a sneak peek. They did not overnight in Tuktoyaktuk, so you dry off, warm up, and jump back in the car.
We swam, we sat back in the car, and we turned around and we said, we've got to get back now.
Did you stay that night the same place as the previous night?
Inuvik,
okay.
That was actually something we were both like quite pleased about. It's like, we don't have to take the tents down.
Oh, you left your camp set up?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so we
it was
went
a bit
back.
Of a treat.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to put them up either, which was also a bonus.
How long a ride up to Tuktoyaktuk from Inuvik?
2 hours?
I was going to say 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
About the same time each way?
Yeah.
One thing that was amazing on that section is the amount of lakes there are. I mean, if you look at it on the map, you see all like the little, it's like peppered with blue dots.
Yeah.
But when you're driving there, it was just amazing.
They're bigger than the little dots look like on the map.
Yeah, some of them are huge.
So you have nice scenery the whole way then.
Yeah.
There's always something to look at.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you're driving that section and you see these snowmobiles just parked in the middle of nowhere, no one around, and there's like one there, there's one there, there's like 5 there.
And no snow, or is there any snow?
No.
But I think we thought they just leave it there for the winter instead of dragging it back to wherever they live. They use them for hunting. They just leave it there, and then winter they go and get them and carry on.
All right. I hope they leave them with a full tank of gas. Don't want condensation in those gas tanks.
No.
Fascinating. And so we'll speed up on the way back for convenience and expediency. You drove to Calgary, put the car on a truck, and flew home.
Yeah.
Yes. Not because we cheated, but because we just had commitments, time commitments. I mean, at that point, even shipping the car back, we were already gone for 15 days.
Yeah, 10 days up, and then I guess 4 or 5.
4 or 5 days. So if we had to drive back, we would have added another 3, maybe 4 days.
What was it like to experience Calgary after that? Was there a bit of culture shock, or not so much?
Not so much. No. We met up with a family friend of mine, or my wife's, actually my wife's cousin, and they took us to a couple of the bars there, the beer gardens, and
did you get to Cowboys?
No.
Legendary bar in Calgary.
We went
to one. What's it called? Cold Garden or something like that.
I think it was Cold Garden.
That was really nice.
Quite a few people in the obligatory, cowboy boots and Stetsons.
Oh yes. Yeah.
There was one guy walking around with spurs. So you like clink as he was walking.
I've been to the Stampede once. It's an over the top party, and I like to be able to say that I have worn cowboy boots, but I've only worn them in one province. So I was at Stampede once a long time ago.
Nice.
So we've covered the 15 days. Is there anything that stands out for either or both of you as the highlight?
I think for me there were kind of two. It was the Carcross Desert and Dawson City. I mean, in Dawson City, one thing we didn't actually mention was the paddle wheel graveyard. So you hop on the ferry that crosses the Yukon, and then you walk up the river a little bit, and there's I believe there's 7, but we only saw I think 4 of these old steam like paddle wheel ships that were put there. I think as recent as the 50s. I think the last one was put there in about the 50s. So that's like 70 years ago. So they're in like various states of
repair.
No, decay.
Decay is the word I was looking for. Yeah. But it's amazing to see, like the steam boilers are exposed and like things have like fallen down. But like you stand there and you think about like the history there. Like these hopeful prospectors who must have been standing there. Some guys who made their fortune, other guys who lost it. It was just like quite surreal actually.
Yeah, the highlight for me as well, Dawson City, and then the Arctic Ocean sign, like the actual sign being there. Like that was the goal, right?
I remember seeing an image of that in the video. Okay, so I think that covers the journey.
Yep.
We'd be selling the viewers short if we didn't go take a look at the car. I'm looking forward to that. I'm interested in the car anyway, but the fact that it's been to the Arctic Ocean and back even
might
better.
Smell like bug spray inside, because
I might not climb in.
We just used it all. That was bug spray for men.
I might not climb in. But so that concludes our sit down portion of the chat. Adam, George, wow, what an adventure. Don't feel inadequate just because those cyclists did it. They took more time. But we're sitting in Ancaster. There are suburban homes around us. I'll bet no one else within shouting distance has done this trip.
Oh, and a big one, Dave. And we're still friends after sitting in the car for 15 days.
Having traveled Europe over 30 years ago with one of my good childhood friends, we started to get sick of each other a little bit during the trip. I think he was maybe more sick of me than the other way around. But it dawned on me, and at the time I was only 22 years old, and I thought married people were together all the time, but we'd spent more time together. We were spending more time together than a married couple does, just as you were. So yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. So again, thank you for watching. It's not the end of the story. We're going to go take a look at the car, And thanks again to Adam and George. Again, take a look at the description area on the YouTube video. For those listening in, just log into YouTube, even if you're just doing the audio portion of the podcast, and we'll get their playlist linked there so that you can see what these guys did. I watched all 10 videos in sequence, and certainly I needed to do it to prepare for today, but I would have been happy watching it, even not being the one asking them questions and prompting them about it today. So highly recommended viewing. Thanks, guys.